Jonah loved the ocean. From the moment he woke up to the time he went to bed, the ocean was his playground. The waves, the salty air, and the endless horizon were his companions. He was a super surfer dude. Everyone in the town knew Jonah for his incredible surfing skills. He could ride the biggest waves and perform the coolest tricks. Every day he would grab his surfboard and ride the waves. It was his daily ritual, and he never missed a day no matter what.
Woohoo!
Jonah shouted as he glided through the water. The thrill of catching a perfect wave was unmatched. He felt happy and free. The ocean was his sanctuary, a place where he could be himself and forget all his worries. He loved the feel of the sun on his face and the salty spray of the ocean. The warmth of the sun and the coolness of the water made him feel alive. One sunny morning, Jonah was getting ready to surf. The waves looked perfect and he couldn't wait to get out there. Suddenly, he heard a booming voice. It was God! Can you believe it? Jonah was stunned and couldn't believe his ears. God had a very important message for Jonah. This was no ordinary day at the beach.
Jonah, I need you to go to Nineveh. The voice was clear and commanding.
Nineveh was a big, bustling city far, far away. It was nothing like the peaceful beach Jonah was used to. It was very different from Jonah's quiet beach. The thought of leaving his beloved ocean was daunting. What do you think God wanted Jonah to do in Nineveh? Jonah had no idea what was in store for him, but he knew it was something big. God told Jonah to warn the people of Nineveh. They were not being kind to each other. God wanted them to change their ways.
Jonah, go to Nineveh and tell the people to be kind.
This was a big responsibility. Jonah felt scared. He didn't want to go to Nineveh. It seemed like a very scary place.
What would you do if you were Jonah? Would you go to Nineveh?
Jonah decided to run away. He didn't want to go to Nineveh. He was too scared. So he packed his bag and snuck onto a ship. The ship was sailing in the opposite direction to Nineveh.
Phew, I'm safe now.
But was he really safe? Do you think it's a good idea to run away from our problems? As the ship sailed further and further away from Nineveh, a huge storm started brewing. The waves were as tall as mountains. The sky darkened, and the sea turned into a swirling, churning cauldron of chaos. The sailors could barely keep the ship steady, as it was tossed around like a toy in a bathtub.
The wind howled, and lightning cracked across the sky. This is no ordinary storm. We're in big trouble. The thunder roared so loudly that it felt like the sky was splitting apart. The sailors shouted to each other, trying to make their voices heard over the deafening storm.
The sailors were terrified. They thought Jonah had brought them bad luck. They huddled together, their faces pale with fear, whispering about what they should do. Some suggested throwing the cargo overboard to lighten the ship, while others thought they should turn back.
Oh no! What have I done? This storm is because of me. Jonah's heart sank as he realized the gravity of the situation. He knew he had to do something to save the others, even if it meant sacrificing himself.
Look out, a giant wave! The sailors' eyes widened in horror as they saw the monstrous wave towering over them, ready to crash down and engulf the ship.
Suddenly, a giant wave crashed onto the ship and washed Jonah overboard. Splash! He fell into the churning sea. The cold water enveloped him, and he struggled to keep his head above the surface.
Help! I can't stay afloat! Jonah's arms flailed as he tried to swim, but the waves were too strong. He felt himself being pulled under, and panic set in.
As he struggled to stay afloat, something incredible happened. A giant whale emerged from the water, opened its enormous mouth and... gulp! Jonah disappeared inside. The darkness inside the whale was overwhelming, and Jonah could hardly believe what had just happened.
Whoa! Can you imagine being swallowed by a whale? It's like something out of a wild dream or a fantastical storybook.
How do you think Jonah felt? Alone in the belly of the whale, he must have been scared and confused, wondering what would happen next. Would he ever see the light of day again? Inside the whale's belly, it was dark, smelly, and slippery. Jonah was all alone, surrounded by the eerie sounds of the whale's insides. The air was thick and heavy, making it hard to breathe. He felt sad and sorry for running away. The weight of his decisions pressed down on him, and he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of regret. He knew he should have listened to God. The realization hit him hard, and he began to reflect on his actions and their consequences.
I should have listened to God. I'm so sorry. Jonah's voice trembled as he spoke, his heart heavy with remorse.
So he decided to pray. He knew that only through prayer could he find solace and perhaps a way out of his dire situation. He closed his eyes and asked God to forgive him. His prayer was sincere, filled with hope and desperation. He promised to be brave and go to Nineveh. Jonah's resolve strengthened as he made this vow, determined to make things right.
Please forgive me, God. Jonah's plea was heartfelt, his voice echoing in the vast belly of the whale. I promise to be brave and go to Nineveh. He repeated his promise, feeling a newfound sense of courage and purpose.
For 3 days and 3 nights, Jonah stayed inside the whale. The days felt endless, and the nights were filled with uncertainty. Then, something amazing happened. The whale swam towards the shore, opened its mouth wide, and phew! Jonah found himself back on dry land. The fresh air and the feel of solid ground beneath his feet were a welcome relief.
Wow, God gave him a second chance. Jonah's heart swelled with gratitude and amazement.
What do you think Jonah did next? The story leaves us pondering the power of redemption and the importance of second chances.